Welcome, you guys. It is your girl, Brown Skin Exoticals, and I am back with another video for you guys. I hope all my exoticals, mixed, light skin, yellow bone, biracial, all my racially ambiguous folk are having a terrific Thursday. And I wanted to say a special thank you to all of you guys because I have finally hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm gonna do the process I need to do to get this channel monetized. Today's video is just me reading and partially commenting on the awful experiences of a mixed and light skinned teenage girl. And she starts off by saying, just for context, I'm from England, London, so I may have a different experience from exoticals in America, which thank you so much for sharing, because I do not have a lot of exoticals, mixed and light-skinned people who share their experiences from overseas, so it is important that we get international exotical perspective. She writes, "Hey, I'm a massive fan of your channel. I'm so glad you're spreading the message that I've been gaslit to think it's not true. It made me feel very seen and that my experiences are valid. I'm writing to tell you about my experiences as being a mixed and light-skinned girl. I'm 17 years old. My dad's Jamaican and Indian, so he's a Malaysian man, and her mom is Middle Eastern, an entire non-black woman. Despite my mix, I'm light-skinned and even lighter than most Indian girls that I know with yellow undertones and type 2 wavy hair." She inserts a photo, but for privacy reasons, I kept her email and her pictures private. However, when she was younger, she had darker skin from going outside all the time, and she would get very, very tan. Though now she hardly goes outside, her skin tone is her natural tone. She's had very bad experiences with other brown Middle Eastern girls who have been racist to black people, making comments about them, not knowing that she was mixed and just assuming that she was also full Arab. When in a situation, they'd call black people monkeys and all other sorts of stuff. After finding out that her father was Caribbean, they would act like they were better than her because though our phenotype was exactly the same, just me having some black automatically meant I was less than them upon them hearing it. Most of these Middle Eastern girls and Indian girls she was friends with would have tried to emasculate her to bring themselves higher or something. This is after hearing of her mix, because otherwise they'd be none the wiser. One of the main things they would do is always point out her height, which is 5'7", which isn't even that tall, and her slim build. They'd always say stuff like, "Oh, I'm so small and petite, you're so tall," passive aggressive, stupid stuff like that, because she would also shop in the petite section because of her small frame, and she's gotten very much compliments about her slim hourglass body, her exoticness, quote unquote, and other things. And that really seemed to get them angry, especially if it was a man giving those compliments. She noticed in public and in her daily life, most people give her more attention than those girls, and they would get rather annoyed with this. She had this especially when her friends were brown or darker skinned girls. She says, "I'm not sure how you'd classify this girl, but she was darker than her and more non-ambiguous, who was East African, and she was 6 feet." Now, before I continue on with the rest of the email, this is the type of passive-aggressive, underlining stuff we as exoticals and mixed and light-skinned and racially ambiguous people have to deal with non-black people. Their aggression, their malice towards us, especially if it's women with other women, is never direct. It's always subtle. So that's part of the reason why we don't talk about how, quote, racist they are to us, because the most obnoxious with it is the black community. She goes on to say, this 6-foot girl would try to intimidate her and make her feel bad about being mixed race and talk to her as if she was slow or 6 years old, and compare her to her autistic brother. That's horrible. Everyone from her secondary school would say that she's not black, and during Black History Month, she was completely excluded, which she couldn't care about anymore because she doesn't attach her identity off of blackness the way she used to before. That is where I need all exoticals, mixed race people, regardless of your phenotype or your mix, regardless of percentages, I need you to get to that point. Your identity is not based off your blackness. You're an exotical, you're mixed. Accept it. Any more than before, mainly because her dad was one of those mixed race men who tried to tell her she was a black woman and some of that nonsense like that when it was very obvious no she was not, and no one treated her as black or society didn't see her as black. Hence, self-loving exoticals are the best parents, as well as biracials, mixed and light-skinned people, etc. Now, trigger warning, sexual assault. She was sexually assaulted by her own cousin, who was white, mixed with Arab, and 16 years old, but much bigger and stronger than her. So he was a year younger than her, but he was still bigger and stronger. Teenage boy, it makes sense. And he had this weird fetish for exoticals and would force her to say the N-word, even though she didn't want to, but for his own entertainment. She went over to his house for a sleepover to help him with some studying, and he would comment on her body, touch on her behind, even though it would make her sick and feel physically uncomfortable. She was caught off guard completely, texting her mom on the phone, and he pushed her down and put his hand on her behind, taking pictures on his phone whilst doing so and sending them to his friends saying, "Oh, I slept with a mixed race Jamaican baddie," or something like that disgraceful. She's his cousin. And she says, "I'd also like to say that he's an absolutely shitty person in general. He swears that his own mom stole her car, crashed it, skipped school, joined a gang, sent nudes of their 26-year-old cousin, which he has saved on his phone. He's just overall terrible. And after he sent his friends that pic, he started calling her, quote, shy. And he asked her to talk whilst he was on the call. And she was scared and upset. She began hyperventilating in the corner of the room whilst he was pulling her to show her face and swearing at her, whilst his friends in the background were making monkey noises and said that she was a monkey if she didn't show her face because she's part Jamaican. Extremely traumatizing event altogether. Then his friends started congratulating him on how he could find a mixed race baddie to, quote, have sex with. Needless to say, she told her mother about this, and she is no longer in contact with that cousin anymore. Thank God. And basically everyone from their family outcasted him. The 26-year-old cousin found out that he had saved her nudes and is extremely disgusting, but she doubts if he cares. Now, there unfortunately is a lot of mixed race, light skin, even exoticals, regardless of your shade, who have to deal with incest, trigger warning, incest, rape, all these things, even in their own families, because they're surrounded by people who fetishize their mix. And this was her talking about her non-black, if you will, side of the family, her white and Arab cousin, and even his friends egging him on. It was overall disgusting, and thank God he got shunned out of the family. And she continues to say he doesn't even respect his own mother. Now, for the black side of her family, they've body shamed her for being too skinny and have told her to eat even when she was full and made fun of her shy personality, called her whitewashed. That is a fan favorite for black people. When they call you whitewashed, just respond, say you want to be white. You wish you were white, because a lot of them do. Continuing on, and that she probably listened to Justin Bieber and some other white singers. So do I. Doesn't matter. Her black, fat LaQuisha cousins, that's funny, have tried to emasculate her by saying she doesn't look like her mom and that she looks like her dad, which is false. Again, trying to, quote, niggify us is the best way I can think to describe it. Trying to say, you look just as black as I do, knowing damn well, no, the hell we do not. And would say that she looks like her father, but then touched her hair and saying how it's so soft and it's not even curly, and asking if that's even extensions, when no, of course it's not. Fat baby mothers of her black uncles gave her dirty looks, saying that I'm conceited, as if her, a 17-year-old girl, is a threat to a 30-year-old overweight woman. Super weird and super creepy. But again, I've mentioned it, Black women see exoticals, even teenage girls, as threats to their man because they know the type of men they are around are perverts, pedophiles, and they would. So instead of leaving these men, they rather enable his behavior and punish us exoticals for it. Her black uncles looking at her and touching her and saying that she needed to be aware because all the boys would chase her and that she can't put out for the boys. She can't be quote unquote a tease. And then on top of that, they made fun of her for having a white boyfriend because how dare you not be black male identified as an exotical, as a mixed race woman. Like, sorry that I didn't want to date a hood rat because 80% of her uncles have been to jail. Most of her cousins, though mixed race, since like 12 of my dad's 20 brothers married non-black women, all either Middle Eastern, white, or Southeast Asian. Just because you're light-skinned and mixed does not make your life easy. There's so many jealous people on the world, and dark-skinned black women just assume that having lighter skin has made it easier. Like, no, life doesn't work that way. And of course, she asks me to keep this email private, but tell me what you think in the comment section below.